Okay, continue. Who was reading? Yes, continue. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Continue reading. You're on 3. Yes, are you there?
Oh, sorry. I didn't know. I was reading, but my mic was muted. Sorry.
Okay.
The contract is deemed to have commercial substance when the risk, timing, or amount of the entity's future cash flows is expected to change as a result of the contract. 5.
Okay. Continue with 5.
A probable consideration. It should be probable that the entity will collect the consideration due under the contract. An assessment of a customer's credit risk is an important element in deciding whether a contract has a validity, but customer credit risk does not affect the measurement or presentation of revenue. The consideration may be different to the contract price because of the discounts and bonus offering. The entity should assess the ability of the customer to pay and the customer's intention to pay the consideration.
Stella, pick it up from there.
Sorry, I was reading the mic off. Reassessment. If a contract with the customer does not meet these criteria, the entity can continually reassess the contract to determine whether it subsequently meets the criteria. Combination of contracts. 2 or more contracts which are entered into around the same time with the same customer may be combined and accounted for as a single contract if they meet the specified criteria. Contracts modifications. The standard provides detailed requirements for contract modifications. A modification may be accounted for as a separate contract or a modification of the original contract depending upon the circumstances of the case.
Okay, we move to requirement A2. Discuss the 4 remaining steps which lead to revenue recognition after a contract has been identified as falling within the scope of IFRS 15. Without looking at the answer, M, give us the second one.
Identify performance obligations.
Identify performance obligation. SA, give us the second one. And SE, give us the third one.
SK, exactly. Determining the transaction price.
Determining the transaction price. Can you expand more on that?
From my understanding, that's like costing the contract, putting a cost to the contract.
Okay, here you talk about where there are multiple deliveries, like the example that we did in yesterday's session, where the multiple deliveries, you determine how to allocate the contract price using the standalone price of each deliverable. So you get a proportion of the standalone cost. Using that proportion, that's how you allocate the costs to the deliverables within that contract. Okay, SE, give us the fourth one.
Did you say SC?
SE.
What does that mean?
SE.
Oh, SC.
No, ST. ST. ST, that is Stella. Is your mic on mute?
Hello?
We can't hear you.
Oh, I was talking again with my mic off. Okay, the fourth one is allocating the transaction price to the obligation.
Okay, I think that's the one where you talk about the multiple deliveries, eh?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
just from explaining.
Yeah, that's the one you talk about the multiple deliveries. W, give us.
But even they determine the transaction price, isn't it the one that you are also from talking about?
Okay, the example we did yesterday was for which one?
We're allocating the price to performance obligations.
Is that not the fourth step?
Yeah, that's the first one.
That's the fourth
Yeah,
step.
that's the first one.
Okay, W, give us the last one. MW.
Recognize the revenue when the performance obligation has been satisfied.
What is involved there?
So here, you're supposed to look at control, like we were talking yesterday about control. Once the control has passed to the customer, then and only then can you recognize the revenue.
Okay. So control has to pass, and control passes when the benefits and the risks have been transferred to the recipient or to the buyer. Then and only then can you recognize the revenue. MW, you can read the second step. SA will read the third step. ST will finish the fourth and fifth steps.
Okay. As explained in part A1, step 1 in the 5-step model requires the identification of the contract with the customer. After a contract has been determined to fall under IFRS 15, the following steps are required before revenue can be recognized. Step 2, identify the performance obligations in the contract. This step requires the identification of separate performance obligations in the contract. This is often referred to as unbundling and is done at the beginning of the contract. The key factor in identifying a separate performance obligation is the distinctiveness of the good or service, or a bundle of goods and services. A good or service is distinct if the customer can benefit from the good or service on its own or together with other readily available resources, and is separately identifiable from other elements of the contract. IFRS 15 requires a series of distinct goods and services which are substantially the same with the same pattern of transfer to be regarded as a single performance obligation. A good or service which has been delivered may not be distinct if it cannot be used without another good or service which has not yet been delivered. Similarly, goods or services which are not distinct should be combined with other goods or services until the entity identifies a bundle of goods or services which is distinct. IFRS 15 provides indicators rather than criteria to determine when a good or service is distinct within the context of the contract. This allows management
You've gone off, MW.